Good evening and welcome to the programme that does for comedy. In the news this week, there are fears in Moscow that the illegal use of steroids may have spread to the Bolshoi Ballet. John Major rallies British workers in the fight against absenteeism. And after a night out on the town, Oliver Reed wakes up in unfamiliar surroundings. On the Ian Hislop's team this evening, someone who is quoted as saying that men should not be allowed out at night unless accompanied by a responsible adult. So thank God she's here, Jo Brand. And with Paul Merton tonight, a man who once introduced boxing commentator Harry Carpenter by saying, "Your Carpenter is Harry Commentator." So, ladies and gentlemen, will you please boff Frank Welcome. So, being sticklers for tradition, we start with round 6A. For major stories of the week, in capsule form, 2 per patient, Ian and Jo, who, what, and more to the point, where.
Surprise, surprise. This is poor old Mickey Jackson with his drug problem. Obviously those 2 mice there weren't really there at all. That's a side effect of drugs. And he's come to Britain for treatment. I'm looking forward to care in the community for Mr. Jackson when he ends up on a 25th floor tower block in the Isle of Dogs. One aspect of this case is that apparently rumour has it that Mr. Jackson has a tattoo on his penis. This is evidence in the case, apparently.
Whose rumour has it?
I read it in The Sun.
Oh.
And I have to say, I, for one, would be very impressed if that tattoo read Flocky Knocky Nihi Pilification, but I'm sure it doesn't.
I don't understand.
Do you think it reads Pepsi?
I don't think it's even that long a word, to be honest.
Yes, it is the mysterious whereabouts of Michael Jackson, whose friends claim he's cracking up. Reports say he's been smuggled to a secret clinic in London, whilst his nose and ears are hiding in Paris. Paul and Frank, a not entirely unpredictable set of events for you.
Oh, yes, Good, just tap it. Lovely. Well, the scene is this week in Bologna, where everybody settled down to see if England can knock in the 7 goals they required against San Marino to go forward in the World Cup. And, of course, what happened was that within 10 seconds of us sitting down, the whole world was absolutely shattered by an extraordinary goal, and San Marino, against all the odds, unbelievably took the lead. Mm-hmm. And the man's name is Galtieri. We have trouble in this country, do we not, with people called Galtieri?
So they were apparently a bit confused, the San Marino team, when they got to the stadium, saw the goalpost, because they usually just play with coats on the ground.
It is a complete failure of all British teams to get to the World Cup. Graham Taylor admitted, "This is the worst moment of my career." But then there are so many to choose from, aren't there? One newspaper complained, "Where is the creativity, the fantasy, the fluid attacking football that we used to play?" Largely in the mind of the journalist, I think.
There's never been much fantasy in football, has there?
In what way, Paul?
In that there hasn't been much of it.
Oh, in that
You
way.
don't get Charlton Athletic, I don't know, dressing up as Robin Hood or something. Or...
No, I don't think that's quite what he meant, actually.
What did he mean, then?
You're
reading it out with the voice of authority. What's it mean?
It might just take too long to explain. That's it is,
No, I'm all ears. Anything.
It is actually the journalist's words, they're not actually mine.
Yes,
So we could phone him up if you've got time to wait and ask him what he meant.
Yeah.
Okay. Later that same evening. Ian and Jo, the big question of the week for you.
Big question.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Oh,
Jazza.
hurrah, it's a tub of lard question.
She's not a tub of lard.
She should be. Oh, look, there's a nice cake. There's a lovely, lovely cake. And there's a fat bloke on a bicycle.
Any ideas?
Well, this is Virginia Bottomley saying that fat people aren't fit, and I disagree with that, and I'd like to prove it by offering Virginia Bottomley a contest where we go 15 rounds in a bare knuckle fight, and
Yes, it's Virginia Bottoms' Health of the Nation report. The good news for the government is that far more vegetables were eaten last year. The bad news is that most of them were deep-fried in lard. Paul and Frank, something of a non-story for you.
Oh, the Bee Gees are reformed.
With Cher. Oh, look, care in the community again.
Don't wear that anorak in public again. This is the woman in Kiev, isn't it?
Maria Christos.
Yes, who said the world was going to end on Sunday.
It happens from time to time, you know, people do forecast the end of the world. There's a South Korean minister last year did that. And it hasn't come to an end again.
You think for once they bloody get it right.
It is the cancellation of the end of the world, or in fact postponement, as it's now been rearranged for next Wednesday. Several centuries too early for most of us, a week too late for Graham Taylor. Which divine madness brings us careering to the end of this first blood, and the euphoric situation is that both teams have reached their appointed targets, Ian and Joe and Paul and Frank enjoying a smug 4. And so to the bowl of cherries that is our tabloid headlines round, one each to chew up and spit out. Paul, a novel play on words for you. Have I got news for Sue?
Yes, this is Sue, the erstwhile girlfriend of Sooty. It's been announced that she's going to get pregnant to update and make it more realistic.
Do we know the man involved? With a headline like that, we suspect it might be Angus, don't we? You haven't, have you, Angus?
Well, Sweep's gay, so it's not him.
Oh, you're kidding. I hope you can back that up.
It is the news that Sooty's girlfriend Sue has become pregnant. No one's quite sure how it happened, but rumour has it that Matthew Corbett's marigold glove split. Asked how it all happened between Sooty and Sue, who is 16 years younger than Sooty, Matthew Corbett said it's the same as any boy who might have a little girl living across the road. Yeah, Woody Allen, I suppose. Frank, a quick score for you. Burglars 6, Soccer Man 0.
This is, it's a good story about a radio football commentator. And he was always burgled when he was on air, because the burglars knew precisely where he was, at the match.
Can I just make an announcement? This is a recorded programme for any burglars. I am actually at home with a bloody great dog.
It is soccer commentator Charles Harrison, his name, of Metro Radio, Tyne and Wear, whose house is repeatedly burgled every time he commentates on a Sunderland away match. He should switch to reporting on England games. They won't be going anywhere for a while. Joe, the latest instalment of A Night to Dismember.
Well, I don't know if it is actually about this, but I'd like it to be, because it's a good story. About that woman in America who cut off her husband's penis while he was asleep because he hadn't put the shelves up very well or something like that. And,
No, she should have just used a spirit level.
And then, actually, what she did was she drove off and threw it out of the window, and then the police had to go and find
What,
it.
shelf?
And no, the penis.
Oh, right, sorry.
And apparently he's had it sewn back on. And his name was Wayne Bobbitt, and it's now Wayne Bobbitt very gently, or it might fall off.
I thought they'd found it after it'd been run over by a bus. So it's wider but flatter. He uses it as a bookmark.
He actually uses it as a shelf now.
So I suppose if it was confusing, he said, oh, it's out on the road somewhere, go and find it. He sort of like just accidentally sewed a hedgehog back onto it. That's what actually happened, and he complained after 3 days because he kept making holes in his underpants.
Where did you read this?
In Fantasyland. It'd be terrible if your sexual organs were a hedgehog, though, because they'd go to sleep every 6 months. Yeah, so what's new? You'd have to give it a sauce for milk every half hour, I don't mind. Underpants manufacturers would eventually adapt it into the design.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be awkward, you know, people get terrible fuss about sort of, women breastfeeding in public. I mean, you'd soon have something to complain about if we had to take our trousers down in 5 minutes and put a saucer of milk down there.
Yes.
And breadcrumbs.
It is the latest development in the continuing saga of American Lorena Bobbitt, who took things into her own hands and severed her unfaithful husband's penis. Michael Jackson has already put in a bid for it.
Why? Why?
Is it because of the tattoo?
Might be.
It is because of the tattoo. Sorry.
No, it isn't. It's a complete red herring. It is...
I thought we established it was
the hedgehog, yeah. And red
That'd be
herring.
terrible if your private part is a fish.
Yeah.
You'd have to keep it in water the whole time.
They never go to sleep.
Yeah, you'd have to walk around with a goldfish bowl full of water straps. Like that.
Yeah.
And if you went swimming, somebody might accidentally catch it and you'd be up on a line.
Yes.
God knew what he was doing.
Just as well it isn't then.
Could have been could be a giraffe.
Half an hour on a giraffe.
Not now, no, I haven't got time really, do I?
The 24...
Wouldn't mind half an hour on a giraffe, though. Very sexy animals, giraffes.
You don't need to tell me.
Yeah, they can see the police coming, so by the time you sort of get there, you can... Oh, no. I used to go out with a giraffe. Just to take us to the pictures and that. You'd always get some bloke behind complaining he couldn't see the screen. It's a giraffe, mate, what do you expect? Well, you can take his hat off for a start.
Ian, what cryptic illusion is this? The sky falls in on Wayne's World.
This is a technician called Wayne, who works for Sky. Am I on the right track?
Well, you've got Sky and Wayne, certainly, yes.
Because they think the Queen Mother's going to die at any minute, all the major television companies have prepared fake or in advance obituaries, which one of these technicians saw when he phoned his mum in Australia and said, the Queen Mum's died. Isn't that awful? And his mother, being a responsible citizen, phoned up her local radio station. And all the big Australian networks, because they have sort of fairly rigorous standards of journalism, they said, oh God, she's died, let's whack it on. So they looked very stupid, and instead of sacking themselves, they sacked Wayne, which is rather bad luck for Wayne. Hence, the sky has fallen in, you see.
Yes.
It's a very clever headline.
It is the premature death of the Queen Mother, as reported on Australian TV and radio. Australian Prime Minister Paul Keating had already prepared his solemn words of tribute to the nation. Fellow Australians, the royal bag snuffed it. Or 1 down, 6 to go. All of which true blue embarrassment marks the end of this second string, and the merest excitement can be gained from the fact that both sides are proving equally infallible, both Ian and Joe and Paul, and Frank refusing to budge on 8. Time now for that one moment in the show when oddness takes precedence, as we ask our panellists to deduce the odd one out. Paul, 4 silly names for you. Sir Charles Powell, pronounced Pole. General Colin, pronounced Colin Powell, pronounced Powell. Nikolai Ceausescu, pronounced any way you like. And Bob Geldof.
Ceausescu pronounced dead, presumably. Oh, I don't know. Is it? They've all been in touch with aliens from another planet.
You've gone for the easy answer.
Yeah. It's probably something to do with honorary knighthoods or something, because Ceausescu certainly got an award from the government for being best Romanian dictator in his field. Bob Geldof got an honorary award for the Live Aid thing, and the other guy on the right with the napkin on his head, he's probably got something as well. So the Sir one, Sir Charles Pole, pronounced Powell or whatever it is, he's the odd one out because he's got a genuine knighthood.
A perfect answer, unfortunately. It is Sir Charles Pole.
They're all genuine knighthoods, to be honest. They
Yes,
just
but
can't
it's an
call
honorary.
themselves Sir, because they're foreign.
Yeah, well, I think I'll give Paul 2, in fact, because he got it virtually right. It's Sir Charles.
Is your life still dominated by orange juice?
Yeah, I can't live without it.
I just imagine this huge carton coming into your bedroom in the morning. Get up!
Well, that's what happens.
You know, it's great sitting over here.
Yeah, marvellous, isn't it?
Somebody said to me before I came on tonight, just regard yourself as ballast on this program. I'm beginning to understand what they meant.
As ballast?
I think
Ballast.
you misheard, yeah. Well, I think...
Now, that's the word you say when you want to guarantee the recording to stop.
Yes.
What?
No.
Bollocks.
Well, we'll see if it stopped the programme when
Yes,
the
exactly.
transmission goes out.
So well
I
done, Paul.
find it's a much better one.
Well, at least we now have an edit point in the programme.
Yeah. So as it's an edit point, I can go back and say, well, 1 point to you then, Paul, and 1 to Ian for taking it up. It's the Charles poll.
Wait, hang on. A minute ago you were going to give me 2 points. He said you give him a point. Is this some sort of hidden scoring system you've got?
It is Sir Charles Pole, as all the others are foreigners with honorary knighthoods, whereas he is the only one actually allowed to call himself Sir.
Well, I said all that.
Well, you might get the 2 points, you never know. It looks like you have at the moment. Pole was Mrs. Thatcher's... I have no control over the points, they do it upstairs.
No. You seem to have very little control over anything here. You just read the words, you don't know what they mean, you don't know how the point system works. Why isn't Sweep doing this job?
Sweep can't do it 'cause he's so worried about Angus shagging his girlfriend.
Oh, well, I think Paul's wife might have something to say about that.
You left a pair of underpants behind last week.
It was deliberate.
Had spikes all over them. I wondered whose saucer of milk that was on the mantelpiece.
It's true. I might as well own up. Frank.
Oh, it's me, is it? Sorry.
Yes, you're on. Peregrine Worsthorne, Curtis Sliwa, Bernard Ingham, and Shaw Taylor.
I certainly do know, in one respect, that Sir Peregrine, as he now is quite unique, in that, as far as I know, he is the only one of that quartet who has uttered the F word on BBC television.
Right.
Right.
What did he say?
2 points. Is that 2 points?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's 2 points.
well,
Thank you very much. That's 2 points.
I'm saying right in the, not in the sense of the word correct, of course.
Is there another answer to this question?
There is
Is
another
this
answer.
another-
There is another
There's
answer.
the right answer.
The right answer.
Only one of them's wearing a silly beret.
It's the wrong answer. I think I'm going to have to put you out of your misery and also tell you the answer, which is that all of them have taken the law into their own hands on the underground, with the exception of Shaw Taylor, who actually fair-dodged himself in his youth. Bernard Ingham apprehended a fair dodger, Curtis Sliwa is a guardian angel, and Sir Peregrine Worsthorne objected to the smell of a man eating a hamburger on the tube and registered his protest by farting in the culprit's face. So if you're intending to have a prolonged argument with Sir Peregrine, be sure to eat a can or 2 of beans in advance. Joe, 4 visions of loveliness for you. Margaret Thatcher, Christina, Sue Lawley, and Jane Clark.
Well, it's a bit unfair. It's just a pair of legs there called Christina, which, I mean, it could be anyone, couldn't
It's
it?
the
It could be
mysterious Christina.
Cindy Crawford. I mean, it could be Princess Di. Could have been you, Frank, at one time.
Just a small libel, but I let it pass.
Can't I do a big one?
My reading of libel was that it had to be untrue, Frank. Still, I'm no expert in the field.
Well, Christina does exist. She's not just...
Well, OK, is
This must be an Alan
to
Clark
do with
question.
Alan Clark?
It is to do with Alan Clark.
And is it to do with Alan Clark commenting on the attractiveness of various people's legs or ankles?
To a degree, yes.
Well, he said Margaret Thatcher had very nice ankles. Obviously, he was down on the floor, grovelling, so he could see them quite well. And I don't know, I assume that he probably didn't say it to his wife Jane, but he said everyone else had nice pins.
Well, I'll give you...
47 points, thank you.
I think the odd one out's the top one, with the legs, just the legs on their own, because he said it about the other 3.
Well, no, but you've
You said it
got the
about
right...
Sue Lawley.
He said
He
what
didn't
about?
say it about Sue Lawley.
Is at long last the right answer, yes. It is Sue Lawley, as according to Alan Clark's diaries, she's the only one that the self-confessed lech didn't fancy. Clark's political diaries were full of entries such as, yesterday I travelled by train and a plump young lady came into my compartment. She was not wearing a bra and her delightful globes bounced prominently but happily. Clark was even accompanied by an ex-girlfriend, the mysterious Christina, on honeymoon with his wife Jane. He says that other ministers, such as David Mellor, who've had to resign over extramarital affairs, just handled it badly. Mellor got off on the wrong foot. Yes, it was one of Antonio de Sancho's. Clark even found Mrs. Thatcher attractive. He wrote, I never came across any other woman in politics as sexually attractive in terms of eyes, wrists and ankles. So Globe's not up to scratch then. Ian, 3 Men and a Pig. Paul Merton.
That one done.
Bunny Berrigan.
Sorry?
Bunny Berrigan,
Bunny
jazz trumpeter. The Marlborough Man and Mr. Porky.
Now, is this an advert question?
Yes.
Well, the only thing I know about the Marlborough Man is he died of cancer.
Right.
Ironically. Well, not very
It's
ironically,
always,
he just smoked too much. Porky the Pig is a figure on pork scratchings, and he says, eat me. So he dies. So he dies advertising the wares. The chap with the trumpet,
Bunny.
Bunny, died of rabbit poisoning.
Is it something to do with, because there was, I sort of missed it, but there was somebody complained about these adverts of me going into people's bathrooms and stuff. So is it sort of like some, and cigarettes can't be
A lot of people
advertised?
complained. They said, that's terrible. Why is he doing that ad?
Well,
Money. 85 quid, cash in hand.
Quid, that's a sort of new slang for thousand, is it?
Yes. It's like a sort of guinea.
Joe, you have a go.
well, Ian, you're not far off, in fact. Oddly enough, you have actually got the right answer, or at least the right reason, but you haven't picked an odd one out yet.
Paul Merton.
Is the right answer, but why?
Because you just said it was.
Well,
Paul Merton is still alive.
yeah, well, I'll give you, yes, you're sort
Ish.
of...
Well, when was Mr. Porky ever alive? He didn't
Yeah.
sort of walk into the job one day, they're auditioning Mr. Porky Pigs, and he walks in with a hat and a little axe and an apron. I'm just the bloke you're looking for, Governor.
I mean, once they made pork scratchings out of you, you'd be dead, really, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Okay, so he's dead. It is Paul, as all the others, advertised products which brought about their deaths.
Oh my God, Angus and the big box powders.
Of course, Paul controversially appeared in soap ads where he burst in on women having a bath. The ITC said, invasion of female privacy is a difficult topic to address humorously, as Paul, I think, showed in those commercials. And Paul will be sulking for the rest of the programme. Which obituary column brings this round to the end of its natural life, and the tragic situation is
Shut
that
your face.
Paul and Frank would appear to be on the way out with 10, whilst Ian and Joe are cruising home with 13. And so, with a certain nervous apprehension, we confront our final missing words round. One batch each of half-covered headlines, what lies beneath. As usual, a guest publication crops up more than once, this week being Welding and Metal Fabrication Monthly. So, Paul and Frank, what hotline established in Australia
Republican.
Queen Mum Not Dead hotline.
is not true?
Surf hotline.
No, welding is the answer. Next, new British national watch show announced
Welding.
is the right answer. Next, I'm going what, says the Premier?
Welding.
Is it Do and Lally?
Maybe true, but it's not the answer.
For gold, Henry.
Wrong show. Forward, not backwards is the untruthful answer. And lastly, judges get what?
New revolving wigs.
Judges.
To make the sort of guilty feel better as they're sentenced and they spins round.
Now, this is because it's been decided that judges don't know enough about the real world, and they're all going back to school to be put in touch with real life. So I don't know, something like judges get
I thought it
school
was
lessons or something like that.
Judges get pissed on breakfast TV.
I thought it was judges get on everyone's globes. Is it that?
Judges get racial awareness lessons.
Well, I'll give one to Frank and one to you. Classes is right on racial
One to them
problems.
for not getting it right, and one to me for getting it right.
Well,
Yep, good.
I think
No, that's good
Frank
system.
actually said the lessons. And
I think we were damn
classes is
sight
near
closer
enough.
than they were, didn't you?
And he might
Lessons and classes, virtually the same thing, aren't they?
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
Is there
There is a prejudice.
prejudice against this side of the
There
state?
is.
No,
I'm
you've got
afraid.
your point. You've got your point. Right, thank you.
He doesn't like being...
Okay,
No,
Does he?
doesn't
Thank
like
you,
being
girls.
criticised, no.
Ian and Joe, your
Just sits
question
there like a great
begins.
big ponce. Yeah, I'll give you 2 points for that. I'll give you one. I don't know what it means, I just read it out.
All right, I like your commercial.
No, you don't.
No, I don't. Your questionnaire, Ian and Joe, begins. Jackson to stay what for 6 weeks?
Black.
Extremely unlikely.
White.
Hidden, I heard someone say. I think it was
In
Paul.
Neaston,
Well
I think is
done.
the answer.
Is not true. Next, pressure on Clark to cut what?
Graham Taylor's ghoulies off, probably.
Pressure on Clark to
Must be interest rates.
own throat.
Cut own throat is a delightful idea, but interest rates is actually the right answer. Next, what in what?
Puss in boots.
Welding industry is going through quite a good time in Paraguay because a lot of people in Paraguay have taken up welding.
Now it's Merton in desperate attempt to win again.
And not doing badly. You can have one for getting welding. It is, in fact, adaptive asymmetric in bipolar gas tungsten arc welding of
Thank you very
aluminium.
much.
And finally, it's vital to what, says Di?
Stay fit.
No.
Love your neighbour.
Have a socialist government.
Not love your neighbour,
Hug
but
your children.
Leave your husband.
like yourself is the answer that I was obviously not going to get. All of which arch rivalry, not to say humour, brings us screaming to the end of this evening's fracas. And the closing tallies add up to the fact that this week's bitter lemons are going to be Ian and Joe with 16, and this week's sweet peas are Paul and Frank with 20. So, a ticket to every Ireland match in the World Cup to our winners, a ticket to every England match in the World Cup to our losers. And I leave you with news that pictures have at last been released showing the wheeze used by Ernest Saunders to secure his release from jail. A young Oklahoma girl somehow suppresses her joy after she's selected to meet Bill Clinton. And at Royal Ascot, police prepare for the arrival of Sir Peregrine Worsthorne. Good night.